All right, everyone. It's 2:05, so we're gonna go ahead and start. Hey, Matt, thanks for joining. I know I've said this a few times, so I'm just gonna say it one more time. Quick disclaimer that we're gonna be recording the full session and then putting it on YouTube. So if anyone doesn't want that or is not comfortable, please keep your cameras off so we can respect your privacy. Thank you. And with that being said, we'll go ahead and start. We have just under 55 minutes and there's quite a lot to get through. But at any point, if you have any questions, comments, feedback, just please type it up in the chat room. As there's quite a lot of us, I'd rather we use the chat room to discuss things than kind of going on and off mute just to keep it a bit less noisy. So hi everyone, my name is Amna. I manage the Aviation X Lab, and I have with me my colleague Nujut, who you would have all heard from by now. She's also going to be supporting the webinar and monitoring the chat room. So if there's anything at all you require at any point, just let us know. Now I can see a couple of familiar faces, so I hope we don't bore you too much with this deck because we're still going to run through a couple of things that you would have already seen in the last webinar. But then a bulk of this portion is going to go towards the Q&A session that we have. And I think that's kind of going to answer a lot of questions that we've been receiving over the last month. So for everyone who doesn't know what Aviation X Lab is, thank you for joining us. It's always great to see new faces with us. I'm going to go straight ahead into the deck. We have a very, very brief presentation that we're going to run everyone through. And then towards the end, we're going to go through a couple of Q&As that everyone has sent through. And then we'll keep the chat room open for any additional questions that you have, depending on the time that we have left. All right. With that, let's start. Okay, so Aviation X Lab. Aviation X Lab launched around, I want to say, October, so around 6 months ago. And it launched with the vision of really transforming the aviation industry. And the way that we did that is, even though we launched in October 2019, the seed was planted 2 years before that, October 2017. And it came through a vision that a lot of leaders had, especially His Highness Sheikh Mohammed, which was to really try to embed innovation in a lot of the key industries that we have in UAE, and obviously aviation being a key dominant one of them. Emirates was approached, Emirates Airlines, with the question of what are you doing to innovate? And so what Emirates decided to do is to launch the Aviation X Lab alongside 4 other key giant partners in the aviation industry. You can see their logo on the right, but I'll run through them quickly. We have Emirates, Airbus, GE, Collins Aerospace, and Thales. And then we have our digital innovation partner, Do as well. Now, as you can see, they're all very different in what they provide, right? You have the airline, you have an OEM, you have the entertainment system. And so they've all come together with one vision, and that's to co-create the next era of aviation. And of course, you need all of these different puzzle pieces when you look at that, right? And this is the first time where you have these 5 massive partners kind of come together under a single roof, not to sell airplane tickets or to make business, but to really think futuristically about what do the next 10, 20, 30 years of aviation look like, and how do you really prepare for that? We'll talk a bit deeper later on about specifically now why the Aviation X Lab is even more interesting, especially with everything happening with COVID. And I know we got a lot of questions on that as well. So no worries, we'll get to that later on. Now a bit about where Aviation X Lab stands in the UAE. So Aviation X Lab is part of a series of programs under Area 2071. And for those of you who are unfamiliar, Area 2071 was also launched around 2 to 3 years ago with the same vision, which is to prepare for the centennial of the United Arab Emirates. And it has key industries as well. Aviation is one of them, but you have transportation, you have healthcare, and so on. And each of the different industries have their own program, similar to what Aviation X Lab has, to really try to introduce innovative solutions as part of the industries going forward. I'm gonna jump straight ahead to the next slide. And what this slide does is it's a very short video about how did we come together and the program that we have put forward for the Aviation X Lab. It's a quick summary, but I'm gonna jump into the details later on, right? If anyone has any issues hearing or seeing the video, let us know in the chat room.
أصبحت دولة الإمارات العربية المتحدة اليوم أصبحت دولة الإمارات العربية المتحدة اليوم قوة محركة في عالم الطيران بفضل رؤية قيادتنا الحكيمة التي أسهمت في بناء مركز عالمي رائد للطيران. تفاؤلي بالمستقبل ليس له حدود لأن الطيران لا يزال محركا رئيسيا لتحقيق الازدهار الاقتصادي لأجيالنا المقبلة.
Welcome to the Aviation X Lab in Area 2071. 5 of the world's leading aviation companies are collaborating on a bold vision to bring the greatest minds from across the UAE and around the world to Dubai to create the next era of travel and aviation. Using their expertise, they will support innovators and inventors as they create a futuristic and game-changing vision for aviation. How will they achieve this? Working in cycles, the Aviation X Lab will release a series of challenges. The brightest minds and startups can apply to answer these challenges with their innovative and never-seen-before solutions for the future of global aviation. Teams with the best proposals will be selected and brought to the Aviation X Lab at Area 2071 in Dubai. This is their opportunity to work alongside experts and mentors from the 5 leading aviation companies on their groundbreaking proposals. Up to 4 of the most promising teams will be invited to pitch for additional funding to see their ideas become a reality. The first 2 challenges have been set. Challenge 1, to create a carbon-negative aviation industry. And Challenge 2, to change the way we think about airports. Aviation X Lab is unique in its scale and ambition. It's the first partnership between leading global aviation conglomerates with a visionary goal to impact 1 billion people through these innovations. From this collaboration in the heart of Dubai, Aviation X Lab will be a hub for the big ideas that will change the future of aviation.
So I hope that gave everyone just a very quick summary around what Aviation X Lab is. A couple of things I'd like to highlight before we jump deeper into the challenges that we've set. The first thing is that we tend to refer to the challenges that we have as moonshots. And the reason being is because they're very impossible in their nature, right? To create a carbon negative aviation industry and to redesign the airport infrastructure, which has kind of been the same for the last 50, 60 years. Both very extremely broad, but also very futuristic and kind of impossible in their nature. And the reason that our leaders chose these 2 challenges is because the 2 of them are very impacting when it comes to the aviation industry, but it really also is a clear path when it comes to your future technologies, your visions, what strategies you want to set going forward. We get asked quite heavily, all right, why these 2 challenges, and not a single solution is ever going to come and solve any of these challenges, which is absolutely right. And that is why in a lot of our communication, we focus on saying that we're looking for the brightest minds and the companies to co-create the next era of aviation. And that really is the ecosystem that we're trying to build through the Aviation X Lab. So I hope that kind of clarified a lot of the questions we've been getting about, the single solution or, what company exactly are you looking for? It really is going to be more of a collaboration than anything to try and reach that end goal. All right. Now, the first moonshot that we have is the carbon negative aviation industry, which I know is very impossible. Again, we always keep getting a lot of emails about this specific challenge. And the reason that we've chosen this challenge, the reason that our leaders are very focused and very passionate about this is The environment is an extremely huge topic, but other than just being a huge topic, it's absolutely important to have a strategy set in place that really explores how do you become sustainable in the long run. That's why we chose carbon negative aviation industry as a key part of our moonshots. When you think about the aviation industry, we only contribute to just over 2% of the total carbon footprint. But that's 2% today. But as aviation grows and as more people continue to travel, especially after COVID, we hope, that number will obviously increase as well, right? So it only makes sense to put strategies placed today that will help you become more sustainable tomorrow. Oops, sorry. And the next moonshot that we have is airport to air portals. Now, this is a very interesting and equally challenging one, right? When you think about airports, and if you were in a live session, I would ask all of you to put your hands up if you've spent hours in the airport just because, right? Whether that's been security or whether that's been because your bag got lost or any other different reasons, right? And a lot of times it's just about the process. So when we came to think about this challenge, we thought, all right, how do you really streamline the passenger experience? But more than just quick solutions such as the ones we have today, like the Smart Pass or biometrics, how do you really take that completely forward and streamline the entire passenger experience? And then we're also thinking about it from one level above that, which is the airport infrastructure, right? If you think about the airports today, they've only been continuing to expand in size and cost and infrastructure. And with a lot of these things come a lot of processes, and a lot of processes means more passenger time. So our view is to really try to limit the time that passengers would spend in the airports, and at least what we call waste time, right? Which is taking off your shoes for security or simply waiting in line or waiting for your bags to arrive. So those are the kind of things that we look at when we want to transform the airport experience. Now, before I jump off to the next slides, I just want to say that we've been getting quite a lot of detailed and technical questions about the specific moonshots. And what we've decided to do is to host moonshot-specific webinars. After today's session, we're going to be announcing the dates of these webinars and how you can sign up for them. And those who will be leading the webinars will be subject matter experts from each of our partners. So from Emirates, GE, Collins Aerospace, Thales, and Airbus. And they will help answer, any of the deep tech questions that you have, or kind of give you any advice, any feedback. And the council will be joining each of these sessions. They are going to be the ones who will be with the selected teams going forward and supporting them again through that entire journey. So if you have applied or are considering to apply, please do join these sessions. They're extremely valuable and they'll offer a lot of more knowledge to the challenges than I will be able to today at least. All right, so how does Aviation X Lab work? The way that we decided to set out the program is in 5 phases. So the first phase is what we call the challenge launch. And that's when we announce our moonshots. And that happens for us in October 2019. After that, we go through the phase of sourcing. And that's what we've been doing over the last couple of months. And that's reaching out to all of you, our brightest minds, talents, startups, companies, sharing our moonshots with them, kind of taking you through that process of understanding any concerns you might have, any confusions, and then kind of pushing you to apply as well. The application deadline is going to close on July 3rd, so that's exactly a month away. And I know we've been getting quite a lot of questions about if you haven't applied yet, does that make a difference or not? Not at all. We actually haven't opened the applications yet, and we don't do that until July 3rd, just for it to be completely fair to everyone. So if you haven't put your applications yet, you still have a month to do so. I definitely recommend joining the moonshot specific webinars just to get a bit more insight and submitting your application as well. Najoud and I are here also at any time, so if you require any technical support with the applications, just let us know. After the application period, there then goes an application validation process, and that takes a good month from July 5th to August 3rd. And that's when the council that I mentioned, who are going to be on the Moonshot specific call, they'll be the ones who will be reviewing all of the applications alongside the partners. Interestingly enough, the Aviation X Lab board, which consists of the C-level executives of each of the partners, they are going to be the ones to choose the final team. Yay! So that's why it's a bit of a lengthier application process, just because there's a couple of rounds of filtration. But at any point, if you do go to the next stage, then we will notify you. Just on that point, we've also been getting a couple of questions around, if you've submitted your applications a couple of months ago but haven't heard anything. We apologize for that. It's just because the application validation process hasn't started yet. And because of COVID, we've had to delay that process by a couple of months. But as soon as that does start, we will keep all of those who have applied and go on to the next stage posted with every part of it. All right, then we go through August 3rd and September 6th, which is the third phase. It's the onboarding phase. And during this phase, what happens is that, a big chunk of the Aviation X Lab process is when teams come into Dubai and they spend that 3 months working closely with the partners and the council on their solution. But prior to that, as a lot of teams are going to be coming from abroad, the 1 month from August to September 6th is when we deal with the logistics. So that's, getting the accommodation ready, the flights ready, working with you, ensuring that you kind of are comfortable coming into Dubai. I know it's a lot of people's first time. So we spend that time with you, and we will be handling all of the cost relevant to the logistics side. We work very closely with you on ensuring that it's the right fit for you as well. All right, then we have the most exciting part, I want to say, which is the rapid feasibility. And this will be from September 17th to December 7th. And that's when you spend approximately 3 months in Dubai working very, very closely with the partners and the Aviation X Lab on your solutions. And during this phase, that's why we always say, if you don't have an MVP, it's absolutely fine, because during this phase, that's when you really get to build up on your idea. That's when you get a lot of the knowledge from the council. If you want to do any testing, we also provide that. So that's really where a lot of the teething pains, I want to say, come through. And that's also when you kind of get more insight about what we're looking for, work on your business proposal, and all of that leading to the final step, which is the pitch day. Now, if any of you are familiar with other accelerators or Shark Tanks, then pitch day is kind of where everything really happens. For Aviation X Lab, pitch day is when you get to present your solution to the board members of Aviation X Lab. And of course, we will support you all throughout that process. So if anyone is worried about presentations and whatnot, all of that is part of the program and is covered in our workshops. And so pitch day, again, is when you will present your solution to the board members. And it is then when the board members will decide which top 3 companies they will want to invest in. All right. So that's a bit about what our timeline looks like. A couple of questions we received again was how has COVID impacted our timeline? As you can see, we've had to push things a couple of months back. So for those of you who have applied and are wondering what's going on with that, this is the most updated timeline, which I am hoping will not change, and that people can fly into Dubai in September. But if anything does happen or if things do change, then we'll of course keep you posted again. All right, next. We're looking for everyone who is part of the call today and everyone who's interested in Aviation X Lab. And the reason that I say this is Aviation X Lab was very unique in the way that it was created, because we're not looking at solutions. Of course, if you do have a solution, that's fantastic, but it's not a closed door if it's not. So we're not looking only for established startups or established companies. We're looking for ideas. So even if it's an idea on a white paper, that is absolutely fine. And the reason that I say this is because the way that Aviation X Lab was drafted is to take that idea, to really nurture it through the rapid feasibility phase and allow it to grow. So if please don't be encouraged. Please don't be discouraged if you don't have a ready solution at this point or an MVP. That's exactly what the 3 months in Dubai are going to be working on. And yes, we got a couple of different questions also when it comes to if the carbon negative moonshot is still there. It still is. So when you click on our application page, which you will find on our social media post, but we'll also send the link after this call to everyone who's joined us with the link to apply. It's completely online platform that, again, Najoud and I can help run you through it should you face any challenges, but it's quite simple. But please do let us know if you face any issues with that. All right. So a couple of things about the program itself and the value proposition. So what makes Aviation X Lab different than other labs? The first thing is when it comes to Aviation X Lab, this really is one of the first aviation-specific incubators accelerator mashup where you have 5 global partners coming together under one roof for this program. What that means is that when you join the Aviation X Lab program, you're not only dealing with Emirates or GE, you're dealing with all 5 partners, again, potentially more with one or the other, depending on the solution. But you will get access to all of the different things that they're offering, which is quite fantastic because I think, aviation itself is a very interesting field with a lot of opportunity, but there is quite a lot to absorb and there's quite a lot of information, a lot of different regulations. So it's always fantastic having the 5 different partners there to support and guide you through that journey. We then have the Aviation X Lab Council set, which includes subject matter experts from each of the partners. And like I said, they're going to be the ones who are going to be joining the Moonshot specific webinars. They will be validating the applications, and they will be with you also throughout the journey during the rapid feasibility phase. Now, regardless of what happens at pitch day, having access to the Aviation X Lab Council is in itself a fantastic opportunity because of the wide array of variety that you get throughout the council. And then, of course, the access to funding. So during the pitch day, you will be pitching for 2 things in 2 forms of investment. The first one is a time investment. And what that means is that you will pitch to spend between 6 months to 3 years out of the Aviation X Lab to continue getting access to the Aviation X Lab Council, the partners, to test your solutions, but also just to be part of that ecosystem, depending on how long your solution requires. And the second part, of course, is the funding. So at the very end of the program, during the pitch day, you will be pitching for up to $5 million US, which is dependent on how much the board will decide to invest. But that in itself is also obviously a great opportunity. Now, what are the commitments from startups? The number one commitment, and I know it's been getting a bit trickier with COVID, but the rapid feasibility phase is absolutely essential to both the success of the program, but also to your success as an applicant because of the value that you get from being in Dubai, from interacting with the council, as well as the other applicants in the program and the different workshops that we have set. As I said, it's going to take place from the mid of September to first week December. So it's very essential that you are able to be in Dubai during that period. We're not very specific as to, if your full team can't be here or if you have to alternate with your team members. We're very flexible with that, but we do always want at least one representative from your company to be here at all times. And now a couple of conditions for the startup. One of the things that we've been getting quite a lot of questions about is the logistical aspect of it. So like I mentioned, the Aviation X Lab will cover all of these costs, but it will depend on the number of applicants and participants that you have as part of your team. So if it's just one person who's joining, then it's going to be 50,000 AED. I think I'm really bad in math, but I think that's around $13,000 for the 3 months when you're in Dubai. And then if you're 2 or more members, and that goes up to 75,000. You know, don't worry about noting these down, because we'll send you all of this information with the currency conversions if you want as well. All right. And then last but not least, we covered this briefly, but how do you register? So the entire application process is up on our challenge. It's the By Future Foundation Challenge platform, which is linked through our website as well, but we'll send you that links as well. Like I mentioned, it's a very relatively quick application process. And all it requires is, you know, your team information, obviously some information about your idea. If you want to send any supporting documents, please feel free to add that as well. And then a very short pitch video about yourself and your idea, your solution, or your team. One question that I've been getting is, you know, what if you've already submitted your application, but, you know, you want to add to it or you want to edit some things? Unfortunately, the system does not allow any modifications once the application has been submitted. But what you can go ahead and do is submit a new application, but just keep us notified so we know not to include that one as part of the validation. Or additionally, what you can do is share any supporting documents you have with myself. I'll keep them completely private, and we'll only share it with the council members who will be running through the application. So I hope that kind of answers a couple of the questions that we've been getting with that regard. All right. Let's see. Okay. So how can you connect with us? We have all these different cool platforms. So we have our website, we have our LinkedIn, we have Instagram, Twitter. That's me in the Cape, so you can connect with me directly on email, and we have our YouTube channel as well. I know I've been getting quite a couple of LinkedIn messages. However, it's a bit trickier with LinkedIn just because I'm always receiving a bombardment of training courses on LinkedIn for some reason. So that kind of like takes up a lot of space in my inbox. But please do reach out to me directly on email. It's going to be so much faster, and I can at least have your email, and I'm more than happy to set up a call at any time if you just want to run through your solution, if you just want to run through, you know, your thoughts, you know, any concerns you have over the program. I'm always available. So please just send me an email or just go ahead and send me a meeting notice at any time, and we're always happy to support. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is just run through a couple of the questions that we've been getting, and I've kind of boxed them, you know, a lot of them were very similar, so we've boxed them together. But if there are any things that we've missed, then just please use the chat room to type up any questions or any additional questions that you might have, and we'll also run through them in this session today. All right, so we've been getting quite a lot about what is the mission of X Lab. And I hope I covered it briefly to start with, but I'll just go through this again. So the mission of the X Lab was, and still is, to really almost future-proof the aviation industry. And by having the 5 key partners that we do, it gives us a fantastic opportunity to be able to do that. Every cycle, and a cycle is 12 months, we look at key dominant issues when it comes to the future of the aviation industry. And based on that, we then assess, all right, what's the priority? What do we want to focus on? And that really helps drive our mission as well. All right. Second question is, has the process for workshops been updated due to COVID? Yes, we've had quite a lot of pushes when it's come to our timeline. We haven't changed the logistical structure yet in terms of how we're going to be delivering the workshops. We still want everything to be very in person during the rapid feasibility phase. But of course, if there's going to be any safety measures that we need to take, we're going to be taking that into considerations. If things need to be shifted online for, you know, portion of the program, we're going to be considering those options as well. But so far, we're hoping for the best. and that's to have the program run out of Dubai. All right. The third question was interesting, and it talks a little bit about if the focus of the program has shifted now with everything happening with COVID. Yes and no. And the reason I say that is because luckily, when we drafted the 2 moonshots, it was very futuristic in how it was formed. So you have the carbon negative aviation industry, which looks at sustainability and the environment, and that will always be a focus for the aviation industry. And then the second aspect is the airport to air portals. And when I was reading this question, I thought a little bit about what happened with 9/11, right? So obviously not to compare, and very different situations, but post 9/11 there were a lot of measures that were introduced, such as you can't take fluids on board, or removing your shoes for the checks and all the extra checks that all of us kind of have to go through regardless of which airport we're flying out of today. And that was a result, most of it was a result of 9/11. And so when you think about the second challenge, which is the airport to air portals one, I would imagine that a lot of the solutions that are going to come in place might not directly be linked to COVID, but I think a lot of the different aspects of it would, of course, be tied to, all right, how do you ensure passenger safety, and how do you ensure that your staff are safe, and that the airport and the airplane is a safe environment for everyone flying, especially in the next 6 months to a year. So I think it's kind of hasn't shifted the focus, but it's really highlighted the importance of having different innovations set in place to really target a lot of the things that you would not imagine you would ever encounter. All right, are all sponsors still fully engaged given the disruption in the industry? Yes, and even more so now than ever. And I think that a main bulk of it is because it's very clear to see how you need to innovate to really continue going forward, right? So if any of you have seen what Dubai airports have been doing, or even Emirates, right? Everyone's focusing on very quick solutions about how do you protect your cabin crew, how do you protect the pilots, the passengers, how do you make sure that everyone still feels safe flying. And unfortunately, this issue isn't going to resolve in the next couple of months. It's going to continue staying with us. So more than ever, innovation is absolutely key to ensure that, hopefully no more virus, but the next time a virus might emerge, that everyone's very protected and prepared, and drastic measures such as the ones that have been taken do not need to be taken in the future. All right, the second question, sorry, the fifth question that we got was, how should companies address the challenge of innovating, doing aviation where uncertainty, market contraction, and brand confidence are at an all-time low? And this links very nicely to the question that was before it, which is, it really goes to show how important innovation is today. Of course, this market is very, impacted at this point and very challenged, and everyone is at a financial stressful point. But that doesn't, mean at all that innovation has stopped, or that, things have been put on hold. In fact, I think more than ever, people are really considering alternative and very creative methods to going through in the future. All right. Are the 3 selected proposals inclusive of both moonshots? Yeah, okay, so that's a fantastic question. At the very end, which is when the selected companies will be pitching to the board, a total of 3 companies are going to be chosen by the board, either in a time investment or a funding investment. And the 3 are going to be coming from the 2 moonshots. So it can be, 3 out of the carbon moonshot or a blend of both, but it's going to be 3 out of the 2 moonshots in total. All right, what happens at the carbon negative challenge? We got this question quite a couple of times. I don't know why there might be a confusion that the carbon challenge isn't there anymore. But nothing has happened to the carbon negative challenge. It's still part of the 2 moonshots, and we are still open and accepting applications for that moonshot. All right, this question was very interesting, which is how to address the regulatory issues with new technology. This is always innovation startup challenge. And this is very interesting. I say that because we do face, even as an airline, even as any of the aviation massive global giants, face a lot of challenges when it comes to regulations. I know it takes us a couple of years as Emirates Airline to get a seat, and just a simple seat approved and verified to be put on a plane, let alone drastic solutions that are here to transform the aviation industry. And a couple of points on that. So the first one is having the 5 partners with us is very important, because not only do they target specific and different parts of the aviation industry, but each of them come with a different set of expertise when it comes to the various regulations. So that's the first part. The second part is that we are working to add different regulation bodies as part of our ecosystem. So obviously all of you are familiar with IATA, they're key to us, and other different organizations, just to make sure that at least more than anything, we're aware of the different regulations that are there, that we can work closely with them as well. And I also want to mention to this point that we have a fantastic facility in Air 2071, which is the Regulations Lab. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of content to share with it on today's call, but we will try to get them on board during the future calls. They offer a really fantastic space, when it comes to exploring different regulations, and they do a great job in linking all the different bodies together. But we'll jump into that during a separate call. Hopefully we'll have them with us. But I really enjoyed this question, because I think it's very relevant when it comes to aviation challenges, because the first thing everyone's gonna ask you is, well, can you even do this? Is it even legal? So it's interesting to see. All right, how to participate? I think we went through this a couple of times. Again, you can join through the online link that we have. We'll share that with everyone. If you do face any issues with the platform, please let us know right away. We're more than happy to support. It is completely online and completely, the application is 100% based online. So the platform is pretty simple to use, but if there are any issues, let us know. All right, and the last question is the Aviation X Lab a good fit for companies that are already generating revenue and past the seed stage of funding? This is very interesting, because we get this question quite a lot, as well as, is it a right fit if I just have an idea? And yes to both scenarios. And the reason being is, we always say we want to co-create a lot of different ideas and a lot of different solutions. So if you are at a mature stage, of course, the Aviation X Lab is still a place to explore that idea further, and how do you get to scale your potential solution, and how do you get to really increase its impact. And on the other end is, if it's just an idea, or if it's just on white paper, it's still a fantastic platform to develop your idea and grow it into a solution. So yes to both scenarios. And the only difference that there would be is, not the amount, but the type of support that you require during the rapid feasibility phase. And that's why the council is very important, because they would be able to understand and assess what support you require. If you're at a testing phase, how do you test all your different solutions? Where do you test them? And kind of take you through that process as well. Again, that's why the rapid feasibility is such an important process. So we really hope that those who are going to be joining the program can commit the 3 months out of Dubai, because it really is very, very important to your success in the program. Okay. All right. That was it for the deck and kind of running through the key questions that we have. The chat room is open in case anyone wants to add any more questions. If we've missed out on anything, just type up your question, and Nujud can see it and I can see it, and we can answer it right now. Otherwise, you can always email us, reach out to us on any of the social media platforms. If you want to have a one-on-one, a separate discussion, then please let us know as well. In terms of next steps, our applications are open for the next month still. So I definitely recommend keeping an eye out on all of our different platforms, but we also have you as part of our communication channel So any future webinars will be letting you know. We are going to be having quite a couple of them in the next month, so please do stay posted and tuned. All right, so I'm just gonna quickly open the chat room in case there are any questions. All right, so how many companies are invited for rapid feasibility per challenge? So it's going to be up to 8 companies will be invited for that phase. All right, if we have a new idea, can we submit more than one proposal? Yes, you can submit more than one proposal. That's absolutely fine. What I would recommend is if it is for the same challenge, just let me know at least so I can kind of know that it is the same company applying for the same challenge. And if they're for different challenges, then that's absolutely fine as well. All right, you don't need to be in a team to participate. You can be a one-man or one-woman show. That's absolutely fine as well. All right, let me just see that I didn't miss any questions. All right. All right, everyone, it seems like if there aren't any more questions, thank you all for joining and for being part of our webinar. It's always great seeing familiar faces, but it's also really nice to know that we have new people joining. We're always available for any more information, so reach out directly to us for anything at all, regardless of the time zones. And if there's anything else we can do to support, then let us know. And thank you all for joining again. I'm going to stay on till end of the session, so if you have any other questions, I'm happy to answer them. Thank you.